Right, year 10. Welcome to video 2. I'm now going to go through the basic concepts. The one thing I want you to keep in mind right now is that it does not necessarily matter if you don't completely understand what a mole is. Now, what I want you to focus on this lesson is the equation that I'm going to give you. And even if that part of your knowledge isn't great and you need me to explain it some more when we come back to school, that is okay. Try and do the maths. That's what this whole week has been focused on, is getting the math skills down. Now, what you did on Monday was the formula. So how many elements are there? How many atoms are there? You then moved on to balancing equations, which you all did really well. And then you moved on to relative formula mass. And to be quite honest, you've handled it and you've done a lot better, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to a lot better than the year 9s have. And that's because you should have a better knowledge of the chemistry around it. Now, then you've moved on to calculating elemental percentages, which was a little bit more difficult, but again, all you were using was the relative formula mass and the relative atomic mass, and putting it into your usual formula for a percentage. And I've had a look at those. I haven't marked any yet, but I've had a look, and I'm actually really, really impressed. And I'm really impressed with the people who've asked for help as well, because it takes a lot for you to say, Miss, I don't understand it. And it's all about us learning of a way that I can get it across to you so that you do understand a little bit, or you have some skills to bring back to school. Now, you've got your periodic table there, you've got the virtual periodic table. The first thing I want to talk about in this video is just the background. So really, I'm going to talk through the slides I've put up, like I would usually in lesson. So, chemical amounts are measured in moles. The symbol for the unit is mol. You'll have seen this before. You'll have seen it in lessons. It was in your relative formula mass equations. So the mass of 1 mole of a substance is equal to its relative formula mass in grams. Now you've done, even if you are thinking, Miss, what, I don't really understand this mole thing, you know what the relative formula mass is. You've worked out the relative formula mass. So 1 mole equals the relative formula mass of the compound. So you can see here, 1 mole of iron chloride is 162.5 because you've added iron to 3 chlorides and you've got 162.5, and that is 1 mole. So that's why the unit is grams per mole, and that's why you can make a little bit of a connection. Now, if I said to you, I've got 2 moles of iron chloride, naturally you're going to think, well, 1 mole is 162.5, I've just got to double it. If I said 5, you're going to times 162.5 by 5, and so on. And that is the fundamental thing that you need to know about the mole. That's equal to the relative formula mass. And if you keep that in your head throughout, you'll do okay. Now, the equation that we use is mass equals mR times moles. So, real world mass in grams, so that'll be a number that you're given. So it'll be like 25 grams, 17 grams, the relative formula mass, so what you've been working out, and how many moles there are. Now, the equation doesn't really make sense until you start using it, and then you can see what I mean. So, the way to remember it is mass over Mr. moles. So that's the way to remember it. So, mass is at the top, you put your line, this one's a bit backwards, but then you've got Mr. moles. And the way that I always tell the year 11s to remember it is imagine mass. If you take the M off, what have you got? That is going to sit and splat Mr. moles. And that kind of sticks in people's heads. So this mass is splatting Mr. moles. So it's on the top of your triangle. If you don't need to use the triangle and you prefer to use the other way, you prefer just to think about it like that, that's fine. Now, you can rearrange that, and I've done it for you. I've given you the rearranging the equation because it can be quite difficult anyway. So when we are looking for mass, we are doing moles times mR, relative formula mass. When we are looking for moles, we're doing mass divided by the mR. And when we're looking for mR, we're doing mass divided by moles. So the mass, the last little bit I'm going to talk about in this video, and like I say, read back over this, think about it. It's not going to settle in your mind until you're actually using it in the next few slides. But the mass in this equation needs to be in grams, but modern papers are giving you masses in different amounts, and you have to just realise that you might need to do a little bit of conversion. Now for this lesson, I'm more interested in, can you use the equation and can you get an answer from the equation? We have time, plenty of time to work on how to convert. If you are aiming a little bit higher and you're looking at getting grades 7s, 8s, 9s, even 6s, then you might want to have a little bit read about these and see how you convert them. But whatever number they give you, if it's not in grams, just multiply by the correct power as above or slot it into the equation. Now, you should know a little bit about conversions from maths, but if you actually type these in and look them up, you will find some answers for those as well. So, important things to take away. Moles, 1 mole is equal to your relative formula mass of the compound. If you've got 2 moles, you just double that number. If you've got 5 moles, you times that number by 5. So 5 moles of iron chloride would be 162.5. Then you have the mass equals mR times moles. So your mass over Mr. Moles is your equation you're going to use today. And the last little bit is just about the different conversions you might have to do. But like I said, don't worry too much about conversions at the moment. Just see if you can use these equations to get an answer and use them correctly. So when you come back for video 2, I'm going to go through some examples of using this equation. If you feel like you don't need to do that and you can just read through my examples and move on to the questions and do that, but I would suggest that you listen to 1 or 2 just to get the idea. Right, so give yourself a little break, give yourself time to think about it, give yourself time to write some notes, maybe attempt a couple of questions and then move on to the next video.